Within the last few years, moviegoers have been seeing a resurgence of classic movie monsters. Just last year, we got Renfield, and now we have a cult film in the making, created by the daughter of Robin Williams and the writer of Juno and Jennifer's Body. This is my review of Lisa Frankenstein. The movie starts with a very Tim Burton-esque credits sequence. Before we're introduced to Lisa Swallows, played by Kathryn Newton. Yes, that is her last name. Unfortunate, isn't it? And this is her stepsister, Taffy, played by Liza Soberano. She has convinced Lisa to go to a party with her, and on the way, she tries to get Lisa to open up about her crush.
Does he have more of a basketball bod or a football bod?
He doesn't play sports. He's cerebral.
He's in a wheelchair?
Lisa also has something of a hobby that involves spending a lot of time in the local abandoned cemetery. There is one grave in particular that she prefers above the rest. I see nothing wrong with this. When they arrive at the party, we meet Lisa's crush, Michael, played by Henry Elkenberry. Taffy gives some background on Lisa and how her mother, played by Jennifer Pierce Mathis, was murdered by a masked killer, played by Luke Sexton.
Oh yeah, Dale, he's a big sweetie. My mom met him 6 months after the murder, and they got engaged and married real quick.
While this is going on, Tamara, played by Joey Harris, roofies Lisa. Where's Nancy Reagan when you need her? Thankfully, Doug, played by Bryce Romero, is here to help. Not that kind of help, Poindexter. Obviously, Lisa exits the party altogether and ends up at the cemetery before shuffling home. All the while, there's a hell of a storm going on, which just so happens to make lightning strike the unknown young man's grave. As soon as Lisa gets herself to bed, she proceeds to have a very interesting drug-induced dream, reminiscent of the silent films she enjoys watching. The next morning, Lisa's stepmother Janet, played by Carla Gugino, gets on her ass about the mirror that she broke last night, as well as a number of other things she's ruined since moving into Janet's house. Lisa's father, Dale, played by Joe Crest, makes Lisa promise to clean up the mess and replace the mirror. I guess Lisa will just have to pick up another shift or two at her seamstress job. On the bright side, Michael shows up at her work and apologizes for last night. That evening, Lisa elects not to join her family for a movie outing. Maybe that wasn't such a wise idea given that the Thing and Clayface's love child breaks in. After some understandable screaming and running around, Lisa has a one-sided conversation with it. Turns out he's pretty chill. And the dead guy, played by Cole Sprouse, that Lisa spends so much time with in a cemetery. My dude rose from the dead because he heard Lisa saying she wanted to be with him and misinterpreted the tone. Bummer. Yeah, that would be step number 1 if I crawled out of the ground. After that, the requirement of a makeover montage is fulfilled. New clothes are good, but you can't fix missing parts with that, I'm afraid. Speaking of bad news, the family's home. Janet concludes that this latest bout of destruction was Lisa's cry for help. By help, I mean putting her in an institution. But hey, it's a new day with a new fit, as provided by the recently resurrected zombie in the closet. Listen, if a centuries-old dead man came back with a better fashion sense than me, I don't know how I would take that. My cat at 3 a.m. in the pitch darkness of my room be like. Unfortunately, because of this little wriggling incident, Janet doesn't attend a conference that she was supposed to leave for.
Damn it! Janet!
I love you.
With the threat of Lisa being sent to a psych ward, which is ironic coming from Nurse Ratched over here, the creature comes up with a solution, and this too is deserved. With a newly acquired ear and a malfunctioning tanning bed, a way to improve the creature has been discovered. So Lisa lures Doug to the cemetery to get something important from him. Let's be honest, he wasn't going to be using that anyway. At least not for anything good. Now that the creature has it, he can play the piano again. It's a lot easier than trying to play chopsticks with a stump. Things are going surprisingly well given that there have been 2 murders so far. Until Taffy tries to call the hotel that Janet was supposed to be staying at and learns that she never checked in. Time to freak out a bit and start calling in a missing persons report. At the same time, Lisa and the creature are getting closer. Lisa decides that since there is a distinct possibility that shit could hit the fan soon, she'll try to have sex with Michael. So at school the following day, she looks for him, but gets sidetracked by the police who are investigating Doug's disappearance. To make matters worse, Tamara tells the police that she saw the note that Lisa lured Doug with. Thankfully, I suppose, the creature steals a car to pick up Lisa. She wants to go to Michael's immediately, but the creature is hesitant to do so. Since he can't verbally communicate, that does make things difficult. Eventually, he does drive Lisa to Michael's, and that's where something is found out.
Oh my god, Lisa!
You can't blame her, kiddo.
That's a big oof right there. Well, I guess there's only one thing for this. Yeah, that's valid after something like that. Lisa manages to get her traumatized sister into the car and follows the creature back to the cemetery with the intent to stop all of this, but can't go through with it. At least she's finally realized that he loves her, so now's as good a time as any to get rid of that pesky virginity. One problem.
Oh, Michael's...
Guys, what's keeping you from stepping up your Valentine's Day game like this? If he's not willing to chop another guy's dick off for you, is it even worth it? With that issue resolved, Lisa and the creature go nuts. Note to self, phrasing is everything. Unfortunately, the blissful fun can't last forever, because the police are rolling in. With the creature's help, Lisa turns herself into a briquette. So Lisa and the now no longer mute creature get a happy ending after all. And with that, the credits roll. I adore the look of this film. I've already said that I'm a sucker for a wide array of vibrant colors, and there are plenty here. When there isn't a neon color palette, things are still rich to look at. I quite enjoy the soundtrack throughout. There are lots of songs that I'm familiar with, and even some that I wasn't. Naturally, song choices are exceptionally important in movies set in the 80s, and I think all of these fit very well. There's not even the stereotypical songs that we've all heard a million times before in other 80s-based movies. That's refreshing, and I equally enjoy the new renditions of familiar songs. Elise McQueen's version of I Can See Clearly Now is haunting and immediately had me on board. Even the score, which was composed by Isabella Summers, is beautiful to listen to. Every single actor knew the assignment here, and I appreciate all of them. Everyone was on point with the tone and humor and such. I was particularly impressed with Cole Sprouse, and how he was able to get every thought and bit of emotion across without a word of dialogue. I do know that he trained months with the mime and movement coach, Lauren Eric Salm, for this. There's a certain groundedness in this story, which I fully realize sounds ridiculous given what this is about. But little things that the characters talk about, or how they react to things, makes it feel more real. The special effects are quite good. A bunch of it is practical. The most obvious is, of course, the different versions of Cole Sprouse's dead makeup. I like the progression of it and how subtle it was without being so much so that you didn't notice it as it changed. I wouldn't consider this a tremendous con, but I do know that some would consider it more so than I would. The horror element is more on the light side here, and I mean that in terms of how much of it there is. It still fits perfectly fine in the genre, don't get me wrong, but you probably wouldn't put this in a double feature with something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I will say that I kind of wish they had used the whole piecing the creature back together element more. It would have been fun to see Lisa and the creature seeking out more parts to use to put them back together again, perhaps in a musical montage fashion. We all know that there's a lot of things that don't totally make sense here, but I'm willing to forgive that because it all just works in this world that feels like our own, but different. This is a pretty niche style horror. It's not going to be for everyone, and that's okay. Those who love this style will find it and adore it. I know that this has already affected the ratings for the movie, and likely will continue to do so. But for those of us who enjoy cheesy 80s horror like Reanimator, it absolutely has the opportunity to thrive. I have already said that the special effects were good. Some things, since they were done practically, don't look as fantastic as they could have. Like the creature's missing hand. That's clearly a sort of prosthetic that Sprouse is holding into place, and it looks the same length as his entire left arm. But you know what? I'm glad that it looks like that. I would much rather have someone do that effect practically and have it look kind of obvious, rather than use a blue screen. It adds to the charm. With all that being said, I'm giving Lisa Frankenstein 9 out of 10 bloody thumbs up. I am truly thrilled to have a fresh horror movie that is led by so many talented women. When I first heard little bits about this movie, I was intrigued. I heard about the cast, and it started to sound more interesting. And then I heard about who was writing it and who would be directing, and I was sold. Somehow I wasn't too concerned about whether or not it would let me down either. All the same, I was pleasantly surprised by the movie as a whole. I've heard someone say that Zelda Williams could have picked any movie she wanted to direct for her debut, and she chose Lisa Frankenstein. That says something. I absolutely look forward to what other movies Williams will create in the future. I truly hope she'll do more horror-oriented stuff. To me, this film was a much-needed breath of fresh air. You can tell there's a lot of attention, heart, and passion put into every aspect of this film. Is it perfect? No. However, it's supposed to be a messy, chaotic, campy movie for you to enjoy, and perhaps reminisce about nostalgia over. And I can guarantee that this will become a proper cult classic. I would recommend Lisa Frankenstein to fans of coming-of-age movies, hopeless romantics, people who prefer their horror to be more lighthearted, and anyone who's always been a little weird. See you later. If you're looking for more 80s flavored horror, check out these reviews. Thank you to my patrons Michael Museo, Bronson Wright Wolf, Dianamo, Sean Sheridan, and Raiders AK for supporting the channel.